Welcome back, Chair Powell. Since you last appeared before the committee in June of 2023, the conversation in Washington surrounding inflation has shifted significantly. To be clear, it's not because the inflationary fire has been extinguished. From the most recent data available, food costs are up 21% since President Biden took office. Energy costs are up nearly 32%. Shelter costs are up more than 19%. And you'll pay 37% more for a dozen eggs in America today. As you stated in January, people are still paying more for the basics of life, and the prices they're paying are still high. Families aren't happy about it, as you know, and as our colleagues know. But according to the Biden administration, many of my Democrat colleagues, they should be thrilled. In an attempt to score political points, many in Washington have decided the best strategy is to tell people what they're feeling isn't actually accurate. They claim Bidenomics has brought down costs, and their partisan so-called American Rescue Plan put our economy back on the right track. Of course, we know the opposite is true, since inflation skyrocketed soon after the American Rescue Plan was enacted, which was predicted by several former Obama administration economic officials. Instead of working to solve the underlying issues causing high prices, the administration has played the blame game, citing corporate greed and so-called shrinkflation. Some Democrats have even trained fire on you, Chair Powell, blaming interest rate hikes, which were necessitated by Democrat spending, for the high cost and brazenly calling you to make cuts prematurely. It's highly inappropriate for lawmakers to attempt to influence monetary policy. Chairman Powell, I have faith that you will not allow politics to cloud your judgment in the fight to tackle inflation. As I have always said, you are a steady hand, and I believe you are committed to the Federal Reserve's independence, as am I. Just as you have rejected the outside pressures of politically motivated agendas, I hope you will be just as attuned to the threats of politicization when the calling is coming from inside the House. Vice Chairman Michael Barr's so-called holistic review of capital requirements and the fatally flawed Basel III endgame proposal represent a concerning trend of partisan proposals taking priority over supervision. This has real-world impacts, as we saw 1 year ago this month when the supervision and regulation arm of the Fed was late catching up to the effects of the acceleration of interest rates on the banking system. Americans were understandably shaken by last year's banking turbulence. As we continue to monitor potential instability, including bank exposure to commercial real estate, it's critical that the Fed keep its eye on the ball. This does not include enacting new, far-reaching, and ultimately harmful regulatory policy, though. As you know, members on both sides of the aisle, on this committee and in Congress, have made clear that the Basel III endgame proposal would be catastrophic for families, communities, and small businesses. Regulators should withdraw it and start over. I think that's the proper course with something as deeply flawed as the current proposal. Additionally, given that other significant proposals would have to fit holistically together, regulators cannot simply proceed with them as separate modules or using a cut and paste approach. Most importantly, as the Basel III endgame proposal is discarded or altered, I strongly urge you and other regulators not to finalize the long-term debt proposal. Instead, Chairman Powell, I would encourage you to stick to the task at hand and follow the data. The stakes are way too high to put politics over sound policy.